From family events to volunteer opportunities to community happenings, there is a lot going on in your community. Learn about all the possibilities and opportunities on this episode of Community Hotline.
Hi, and welcome to Community Hotline. My name is Monica Weitzel, and we're here at MetroEast Community Media in Gresham, Oregon. Tonight, we're going to be talking with a couple nonprofits who are making a difference in our community. I want to start out with Camp to Belong, the Oregon chapter, and with us tonight is Karen Schimmels, who is a program director. Thanks for being here, Karen.
Thanks for having us.
So, Camp to Belong is for foster kids, correct? For foster siblings.
It's for youth who are residing in foster care or other out-of-home care, which means they've been removed from their family of origin and they're living elsewhere. And so the camp is specifically designed to bring brothers and sisters who are separated in foster care or other out-of-home care so that they can have some quality time together in a really great, environment, as they don't get to do that.
I think that must be really, really hard. I imagine anytime a child or teen or youth is removed from their family that they've lived with, their life, it's got to be traumatic in and of itself. But if they're separated from their siblings, who at times are probably a great support for them, it's got to be very hard.
Yeah, I think that that's a common occurrence for these kids, and that it is really traumatic to be removed from the only family that you've known, regardless of what brought that family to the attention of the Child Welfare Agency. It's still really traumatic for kids. And in families that are dealing with strife and have some dysfunction, the children usually have really strong attachments to each other. So when we traumatize them by removing them from the family that they've known, then we also further traumatize them by separating them from the people that they're closest to. It can be a pretty lonely, painful process for these kids.
I'm sure it can. Now, your background is in child services, is that correct? You have
Yeah, I've worked here in Oregon in public child welfare and in nonprofits, but mostly for better of over 20 years for the Department of Human Services in public child welfare.
So you've probably seen firsthand how that can affect families, especially kids, if they're taken away from their families and separated.
Yeah, and I think that that's probably what really got me interested in this particular program, was just through my work that I had been involved in. And at the time, I was really deeply invested in a caseload, of families that I was working with, and a lot of the children were separated from each other. And when I went to go and visit with them and spend time with the kids, as a lot of our caseworkers, all of our caseworkers do, here in Oregon, is to really spend time with kids and listen to what is on their hearts and minds. That's when I would hear from them about how much they miss their siblings. And it just was one of those gnawing questions, like, why is it and why are they separated? And so when I would go back and try to investigate, reasons that the separation occurred, it was generally because of circumstances that were really out of their control. It was more sometimes the time that the placement occurred, if it was in the middle of the night, and sometimes it has to do with a really large sibling group and not having a home that has enough beds or bedrooms.
I imagine it's much more difficult to place several kids than it would be one. I mean, it's just the placement alone is going to be an issue. So I can understand how it happens, but it certainly doesn't make it easier for those kids.
Exactly, and there's just resource, to find that kind of resource and to find families that are committed to maintaining sibling connection and really having a whole group of children, come and join their home and join their family. It's a big commitment.
Oh, it is.
But on any given day, here in Oregon, we have over 9,000 children that live here in foster care or in other out-of-home care.
That's a big number,
Yeah.
Karen. So tell me what Camp to Belong does to help these kids. I know you said it gives them some quality time together. You have it's a camp, obviously.
Yeah, we're a member camp organization.
Which means what?
Which means there is 11 member camps nationwide. We also have one in Australia. Oh, wow. And so Oregon is one of the members of Camp to Belong International. And we're our own independent, member camp here, and we operate our own,
You
program
do it pretty much
camp.
the way you want to do it, but all the camps are similar?
It's a replication program.
Okay.
And so if you went and visited any of these other camps in the other states, you would see very similar things because there's very purposeful programming and intent that's involved around this particular camp program. And a lot of people say, well, what can you do in a week? And you'd be amazed at how you can positively impact a child in a week in a camp experience like that. And I remember going to camp when I was younger, and it was really empowering, to go, and very liberating because I wasn't under my mom and dad's nose, and I was with adults, but they were younger, and at that time I probably thought they were cooler.
Yes,
and
I'm sure.
and I learned things, and to spend a whole week in the outdoors and to explore, just that curious side of the outdoors and science, but to be able to do that with their brothers and sisters and create really positive memories is a really great thing for them. Yeah. And, we take away a lot from kids when they're removed from their families and they have to live in other, home situations. And this is just one of them. And a lot of times I share with folks when I'm talking with them that there's a lot of issues, in child welfare, and sibling separation is one of them. But I feel strongly that it's often one that gets overlooked because there's so many other systemic, issues that we're trying to address in terms of child safety. And it's just sad because 1 out of every 4 kids here in Oregon is living without a brother and a sister. And that's been something that's really tugged at my heart over the years. Having grown up as the youngest of 7 kids and having a twin brother, I can't imagine not growing up without my siblings and having those experiences. So
you provided us a video and some pictures. I'd like to take a look at that video, at least a few minutes of it if we can, because I watched the whole thing and it was really enlightening to me how powerful this must be for some of those kids. Yeah. So maybe we can take a look at a few minutes of that now.
All right.
Imagine being ripped from every member of your family and trying to live in a whole new one.
You kind of need your siblings because you're in foster care because your parents aren't there. So if your parents aren't there, then you take away the sibling, you really don't have anything.
He hasn't seen me do any sports since like elementary school, which is pretty much of a bummer.
We haven't spent a birthday together
since we shared birthdays.
Yeah, which was like 6 years ago.
When I need to call is when I'm feeling down.
I feel really sad because everyone else gets to see their siblings every week, every month, and the only thing we have is this camp that we get to see each other. The only thing.
Everybody says it's hard to explain the magic that happens here. You have to come to realize it, because when I tell people about camp, they're like, oh, that's a good thing. And it's like, you don't realize how good it is until you're here.
Camp all at once is so frustrating, and it's so exhausting, and it's so irritating, and it's so happy, and it's so heart-wrenching, and it's all these things just wrapped up together and a ball.
You have the ability to create meaningful family relationships in the absence of parents being part of the picture.
I say my mom, and then I catch myself when I say my foster mom, and then I end up having to explain foster care.
Like, we're all in foster care. They know how that feels. We're separated by our siblings. Sometimes they don't see their siblings ever.
People, they understand about foster care, and at school people don't.
It felt really good to have someone else that understood what you're going through.
During the day at camp, we do some pretty traditional camp activities.
If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. Do it loud. Do it loud. 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 Way to help him. Nice.
Go Jose.
Oh!
Okay, come on.
This camp is the best thing I've ever had. I get to have a week with him and get to know him more and just to have fun.
What we see is that first, they begin to cultivate a relationship. We also then see them begin to become advocates. What I would hope for them, that they would take control, that they would use the system for their benefit as they try and get tech training or a college degree or whatever it is that they aspire to reach their goals and to reach their independence and to be able to matriculate out of that system and not repeat the cycle.
The strongest thing that resonates with me when I drive away from camp and I crumble into tears is that it's about the fact that they are separated just to begin with, and that they're going back to that separation. And I can't imagine what that must feel like for them in their hearts. So that's the hardest part about camp, is just knowing that that separation occurs, that it's a part of daily life in hundreds and thousands of kids' lives.
Wow, that's powerful stuff, Karen. These kids that come to the camp, are they all Oregon kids? Or?
Not always. I mean, we serve Oregon, and oftentimes there'll be a brother or a sister in another state. Oh. And we are able to identify those kids and talk with their guardians and make it possible for them to come to camp.
So you have kids, so some kids probably never get to see their siblings at all. If they live in other states, I imagine it's really rare for them to get together.
Yeah, and we have a couple of sibling groups that come to camp every year, and that's the only time that they see each other is at camp.
I bet they look forward to that all year long.
They do.
The handsome gentleman in the video there that they call Big Daddy, he is your husband, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
So Charlie and you are the co-directors of the program. And how many staff do you have?
Well, we recruit volunteers every year, but we have a very high returning counselor rate. Good. People that have been with us year after year, because it's very hard to describe it in words.
I'm sure it's a powerful experience.
Yeah, and we often tell people that you'll get as much out of it, if not more, as the kids do, just because they really touch your hearts. And the opportunity to just be outdoors with a group of kids and bring joy and create positive memories for them, and just to have a blast for a whole week and play.
It looks like fun.
Is really a lot of fun for them.
I have a couple more questions about the camp, but your staff are not paid staff, is that correct?
Yeah, we're an all volunteer-run organization, and so we have counselors that come from all walks of life. Retired teachers, businessmen, sales guys, IT guys, teachers, nurses, social workers. It really just requires having a real heart and passion for kids and wanting to make a difference. And we do a background check on all of our counselors in an interview, and we select new counselors every year, but we do have a really high rate of returning counselors year after year that we call our veteran counselors. And we really try to encourage that so that we have veteran counselors and we have new counselors so that we can pair them together and help the new counselors get through their first week and first year of camp. Just as we do with campers. We have returning campers that come every single year, and then we have new campers that show up. And when they show up, they're really anxious, and so the veteran campers, if you will, help them out and tell them to give camp a try. And you really see a change in those kids the first couple of days that they're at camp, and they're just in a really unusual situation when they arrive at camp, because they're all kids that live right here in our communities, and they're in our backyards, and they go to our elementary schools and to our high schools, but they don't walk into their communities and into their school settings and say, "Hi, I'm in foster care."
No.
You know, but what they do when they get at camp is they realize within the first couple of days that they're actually at a setting where there's 90 other kids that are just like them, that understand what it means to be in foster care or other out-of-home care, that understands what it means to be separated from family, you know, from brothers and sisters, and to understand what that despair is like and what that pain feels like. And so it becomes pretty therapeutic in a lot of ways for them, even though it's not a therapeutic camp. It's a very safe environment for them to let their guards down and to just be kids, which is our whole goal.
That's great. Now that video, is that available to be seen on your website?
Yes, we have a link to it there.
Okay, I would encourage people to watch it, because I watched the whole thing, and I mean, it goes on to show like a dance that you have at the end, and the kids dressing up, and oh my gosh, it was so moving, and it just was so wonderful. I mean,
we try to really make it a good experience for them, and we do a lot of the traditional camp activities during the day, but we group the kids by sibling groups, so we have one adult for every 3 kids that are at camp. So our adult to child ratios are very high, so we can provide a really good, safe, healthy environment for the kids. And then at night, we have a lot of surprises for them that we don't tell them about, and that's what we call our signature programs. And how I mentioned earlier in the show that we have member camps all over the nation. They do the same signature programs that we do. Like one night we have a birthday party. And if you think about it, these kids don't live together, so they most often are not able to spend their birthday together.
Which is a special thing for almost every child.
Yeah, so we have them go shopping in a birthday shopping center that we've set up at camp, and we have volunteers and community partners that donate gifts throughout the year, and we set that up, and they can choose a gift for their sibling, and they wrap that gift and they make a card, and then we have a company that makes a birthday cake for each sibling group that's individually designed with their names on it. And it's not just a simple cake that you would go and pick up at a store. It's a beautifully decorated cake with a lot of care and something really special. And then we just suspend reality for one night. We pretend like it's everybody's birthday.
I love it. I love it.
We have a huge birthday party.
So I imagine you have a lot of great partners and partner organizations and people that work with you. But you obviously need help in raising money. So you have an event coming up that's going to help out.
Yes, we do. We have a yearly auction that's held at Stoller Vineyard, which is down in the Dundee, McMinnville area. Beautiful wine country, and it's a beautiful vineyard, and they have been very generous over the years and donated their venue to us so we can host this event. It's our only fundraiser that we do each year. It's our largest fundraiser, and obviously very important, because every dollar that we raise there that evening will go directly to the kids, because we are an all volunteer run organization. And I do have a lot of people that say, you must have a lot of help, but I can always use more help, and it's a consistent year-round effort. We have a dedicated group of volunteers that work really hard year-round, that do grant writing, that do other small fundraising efforts to raise the needed funding to make this camp program happen every year.
That's wonderful. We're just about out of time, but I think we have a few pictures. Maybe we can show them while we talk about this a little bit more. But this event is called Bid for Sibs.
Yes, it's called Bid for Sibs, and it's at Saturday, April 13th at Stoller Vineyard. And tickets can be purchased online at our website at www.camp camptobelongoregon.org.
Okay, and we can't say prices on the air, but if people want information about it, they can go to the website.
Absolutely, there's a whole page that has information about the auction, and participation is really important so that we can make that happen for these kids. They're counting on it.
Wonderful. And then one more thing, you have a sibling events fund. And can you tell me about that just in like less than a minute?
Absolutely. We are not just a camp. We try to do year-round activities. So in this last year, we did 4 other sibling events in the Portland metro area, and we provide an opportunity for kids to get together again. We also provide funds to siblings who are having difficulty having connection with each other. So we may be able to purchase a bus pass or a webcam so that they could Skype. So there's a restricted fund that we use strictly to enhance sibling contact.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, we're out of time, Karen. That went really fast. But if people are interested in volunteering, donating, you'll take monetary donations. Obviously, can people donate like some of the clothing for the fancy party that they have, or items for the birthday party?
Yep. And we have a wish list on our website that talks about things that we really need, and it really helps when the community reaches out and contributes, because we are all volunteers and we all work full-time, but we just do this because it's done a lot for our hearts, but it does a lot for kids, and we've served over 700 kids in Oregon since we've been here.
You know what, keep up the good work, because it's a wonderful organization. So please do check out their website and participate. Go to the Bid for Sibs auction, or maybe give to the Sibling Events Fund, or just be aware of it and pass on the word. Thanks for watching this first interview on Community Hotline tonight. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Birch Community Services.